Hey all, so thanks for joining today's session. As it pan out, as I have explained you in the previous sessions, like in today's session we are going to be talking about whatever we have learned till date. And if I remember it clearly, probably 5 to 6 sessions back, I told you when I was explaining about the networking concept, I told you like in future sessions I'll demonstrate how to work with point-to-site connectivity, because while while explaining this whole concept of networking and how the hybrid connectivity works, I explained you, or I sort of demonstrated you how actual site-to-site connectivity, I mean the whole network of your on-premise can connect to a virtual network of Azure. That I demonstrated using the example of two different virtual network in Azure and how to make that connectivity happen. And during that time, I remember I told you in the future I'll demonstrate how the point-to-site, which is essentially nothing but a particular device being authorized to connect to a virtual network. So mostly the today's session is going to be focusing on that, but a lot more to explain in today's session other than the point-to-site connectivity, which would be the focal point of this demonstration. But before getting into that, I would like to sort of sums up whatever we have learned in infrastructure portion, whether it's virtual machines or whatever we have learned in storage or the concepts down the line of all these sessions which we have taken. In today's session, we'll not have any slides as such, so we will be having a lot of demonstration or real-time experience working on the portal and seeing how things can be implemented rather than actually trying to see things which can be explained just on the PowerPoint slides. So if you remember correctly, there was I explained you the concept of something called of resource group, virtual network, or subnets, ACLs, or virtual machines, storage, all these things which I have explained during the last session. I just want to sort of go back in and get all these information and try to bundle them and put them in perspective in today's session. So just to demonstrate that, what we will try to achieve in today's session at first is like we will create a production grade setup, production grade infrastructure along with production grade networking infrastructure as well, and then where we will have two different subnets, which within one we can have something which can be of a private, wherein it need not to be exposed to the internet, where anybody can have access and connect to that on a specific port. So we think of it as an example where we'll be keeping our database layers, or even in certain cases the background process layers, and then we'll have a public subnet which will be used to host something which has to be exposed to the public. Take an example of something like a web server. Okay, so with that in mind, and we will try to achieve everything with all the best practices which we have talked about. So to do all that, okay, let's go to the portal and let's see how we can do that. So, okay, so that is the link which we have been talking. Okay, so in the meantime, just for the conceptual purpose, I would just want to tell you upfront. So as I said, there are two. I have been keep telling you there are two different portals with Microsoft. One is the classic portal and another one is the new portal. So and then the networking concept which I'm going to be demonstrating you with respect to this whole production grade setup, we'll try to achieve that on a new portal rather than banging our head with the old portal, which is obviously it's a lot more mature in the sense because you can do a lot of stuff from the portal itself. You need not to go learn quite a few of PowerShell and do that, which is kind of a time consuming, and we might not have that much time on this session to complete all this whatever we have planned. So we will try to sort of segregate the whole bunch of tasks which we have planned, or the agenda which we have for today's session. So the first one which I'm talking about, the production gate setup, where we will try to create everything with the best practices which we have recommended during all these sessions. But the second one which will potentially be targeting towards the point-to-site connectivity, that we will try to achieve it from the classic portal. So just to let you know. So okay, so now just as I have been keep explaining you, whenever we will try to do something on new portal or the new way of Microsoft Azure working, the first thing which anybody should be doing is to create a resource group. So as I have been telling, resource group is a container. And one more thing, just wanted to let you know, anybody who has any questions, they can ping me. As you know, you can just raise your hand and ask me the question right away, or you can keep the questions ready for the end of the session. I'll take it once we are done with that. So or even you can have it ready, maybe if you want to try this out, and then later if you find out something is kind of blocking you, or you need some conceptual guidance on those, you can ping me or you can email me the questions. I'll be pretty happy to answer them. Okay, so coming back to the discussion on hand. So as I said, whenever you're trying to create any resource within Azure, try to create on a particular resource group targeting to your workload. So in that way, it becomes a lot more easier for you to manage all these resources, which will be under one resource group, so you can keep track of all the billing information or how to monitor that. And even if in future you have to tear down the whole infrastructure, you need not to individually go there and delete the services and anything which is, or you might miss something which is connecting to that, and that should not surprise you with your next month's credit card bill. So just to, as I have been telling, so the first thing which we will do as part of the best practice is to create a resource group. Okay, so let's create a resource group for our demo purpose. Let's name it, say, demo network or something, and let it come. Okay, so as per this first demonstration agenda, just to okay, let it come. Okay, so let's put it like, demo workload. Okay, so and then select put the region in Southeast Asia. I'm pretty fine with that. Okay, so I just wanted to, as I was telling, for demonstration purpose, we have created a resource group that is our demo workload. So now whatever resources we will put in there, we'll create, they will all be under one resource group, and we will keep seeing that how we did that. So now the first thing, okay, so just coming back to the best practices and how we actually achieve all these things while doing it for a customer, or for even for the POC purposes, or anything which is related to production. Now we have a container within that which will be hosting all these services, whatever is needed for our workload. But because I've been keep explaining, like, this workload or this demo workload will involve virtual machines, and then it will be having a lot of networking concepts in place, because whenever you're going to play with the virtual machine, make sure you create a virtual network, so that it makes it a lot safer to provision those resources or those machines under a virtual network, because that's where you can control it at the granular level of security. So let's go and create a virtual network. Okay, so coming back to this one, let's create a virtual network, and let's name it as a, say, demo VNet. So as part of the agenda, first we created a resource group. Now we are going and creating a virtual network. Okay, so let's just name it, as I said, let's name it as a demo VNet. Okay, for our purposes, let's just keep it, say, 10.15.0.0/16. So as I said, there are 3 different namespaces, address spaces which you can choose while creating virtual network in Azure. One is start with the 10 series, which has a /16 bits subnet masking. I think I have explained it in a lot more clearer sense in the last few sessions back, where you would have got to know about how it is spacing and everything works there. So just to give you a heads up, I'm creating a subnet, or I'm creating a address space with 10.15.0.0/16 bit of masking. Okay, and it will have let's create a subnet here also, saying, let's name it as a front end. Okay, and let's just for the subnet range, as I said, it has to be falling in place with this, so let's just keep it like 10.5 with this one. Okay, and now this is the section where you'll be providing this. So the resource group which we have created will be keeping this one under that. So let's keep it in demo workload, and the reason location, it's coming from the resource group, so you can keep it, or we can even change it here, but need not to do that because I feel like, you know, for this demonstration let's keep Southeast Asia as our reason. Okay, so it's creating in the back end. So now with this in place, we will have a resource group, and then within that resource group we will have a virtual network. There are a lot of, you know, quite a few settings which has to happen under that workload. We'll try to achieve that as well, but you know, there are a lot of settings which has to be changes, a lot of changes which has to be made. Let's refresh it and let's see what is there in our demo VNet. Okay, so as it pan out, it doesn't have anything attached to it right now. Okay, so let's see the subnets on what are the subnets it has. So it has a subnet called front end. Let's create another subnet. Okay, let's name it as a, say, back end, and let's give it the address space of 25.0.0. That should work. Okay, so let's just create it. Okay, that's not working. Okay, it's my fault actually. 10.15.10. That now it should take this. Okay, so now we have two subnets associated with this virtual network. So one is the front end subnet, and then another is the back end, which is I don't know, maybe, I think we have to refresh. Okay, now it's came. So you can see there are two subnets. One start with this, you know, 5.0 ranges, and then another one is which is a backend that is 10.0 ranges. Okay, now coming back to, so now we have a virtual network, and we have segregated that virtual network into two different segments, or two different subnets. One which will be, we will use it, one will use it for, say, something like our private services which need not to be exposed to public, and another one which is front end that we will use for web apps or some other related services. Now that is the underlying thing which we have done. Now if we have to implement the best, or we have to take the best measure on security point of view. So there is something called network security groups. As I said, I think I have given you a brief about network security groups earlier as well, but network security group is sort of a layer on top of subnet for securing inbound and outbound connectivity. So when we will talk about security in Azure, there are three things which has to be put into perspective so that everybody can understand, or they should be on the same page, or they should know what are the places where they have to secure their infrastructure so that it should not be breached, or it should not be compromised by someone who's trying to hack that. So the first is as I said, that when you create a virtual network, you will create a network security group, which is this, which will secure the infrastructure at the subnet layer itself. So now you have drawn that networking. So within that networking, you're securing it through that network security groups. Now once you come a step back, or you launch a virtual machine, as you would have seen, there is something called ACLs. So ACLs are something where you will open a specific ports on that virtual machine or that cloud service. So it's a security layer which sits on top of that infrastructure as a service. So now you're blocking, or you're restricting the people, or you're checking, or you're filtering the requests at the subnet layer, and then if it comes through, you can check it on the virtual machine, sorry, with ACLs. And then if even it goes further, you can use the Windows or any other firewall settings which is in place to keep an eye on that. So let's just create, say, you know, front SG, just name it. Okay, now again, as I said, we will be following this practice, like putting it in one resource group, and we will keep doing that. And the second one, let's just name it as a back security group. Okay, put it in same this one. Now let's just refresh it and see if we have got any. Okay, now we have got the front security groups. So if you see the settings and also here it's clearly mentioned there's no inbound security rules right now, and it's not associated with subnets or network interface. So I'll talk a brief about the network interface later, or even I just if you want I can give you the heads up, like network interface, think of it as a network cards which you can associate to a virtual machine at a time. So all the network related settings, the IPs, the security groups can be associated at the network interface itself, and that is the and network interface is something which is portable. So whatever settings you are specifying, if you want to take it from this machine and move, associate with another machine, you can very well uh, disassociate that network interface from this machine and associate it to somewhere else. Okay, so as it's a front-end security group, let's create some inbound security rules here. Okay, so let's just add few rules. Okay, let's just I need to say probably web priority 100 sales range destination port range. Okay, let's just have it and put it allow. Let's have it. Okay, so now what I'm doing, I'm just opening a port 80 here, so that anybody who's trying to access it on port 80, which is default web HTTP port, and that the person should be able to access that. Okay, now okay, so we have to provide a name. Okay. Okay, so it's updating on the back end. Let's not add any rule in there. So just to the one which I'm doing, it has no substance as such, because we are not trying to achieve anything out of this. The only thing which I'm trying to demonstrate is that there are certain things which you can do with inbound security rules or outbound security rules. That means whatever is getting into that machine, into that subnet, or whatever is going out of that subnet, you can create a filtering criteria out there. So that was the whole purpose of doing this and putting an allow access on top of all these subnets. So now we have a network security group. Now we have to associate this these security groups to specific subnets. So now let's get to our virtual network and then see if we can associate them. Okay, so demo vnet. Okay, coming back to our subnets. Okay, so now these subnets, we have a front-end subnet which doesn't have any security groups here. So but we will click here and we'll see, we will put front-end SG because that was the front end, and then we'll save it here. Okay, so that is saving. In the meantime, let's go to the back end. Okay, it's saving, so it just does one operation at a time. Alright, so that is the first one is completed. Now here also we will attach this back security groups to our backend subnet. So now our subnet has been associated with these security groups to keep it more secure, or to keep track of whoever is trying to get into the machine or who's trying to get out of that machine at subnet level. Okay, now for front end, there's one more setting thing which I would probably want you to keep track of that, and that is how to create a static IP. As it stands today, Microsoft Azure gives you those public IPs, which you'll get if you create a cloud service or even if you create a virtual machines. But that is not static. When I say that is not static, that doesn't mean it's going to change quite frequently. But if you perform certain operations like shut down the machines, or say you just shut down and then bring it back, you might lose the IP address, and if you don't, and production gate, that's something which you don't want to happen. So the better way to do that is to create one IP. So we'll create, let's see, this is the segment where you go and click there. So that is the public IP. Let's create a public IP. Okay, so it's taking a bit of time. Okay, so let's just give it a name, say front IP. Okay, just for the sake of it. Okay, let's give it a dynamic static. Okay, name it different IP. Okay, put it in a, it can contain only lowercase. Okay, no problem, we'll do give it lowercase. Okay, so it's checking because it has to be unique. Now put it in the same resource group as demo, this one. So as I said, I am creating a static IP here. So, and then we can associate it to a particular network interface, which I'll show you, in a while. Let it just update itself. Okay, and let's see once it's back. Okay, so now let's just refresh it, and then we should have the front IP. So if you see the front IP, it's not associated to any of the machines. So what we can do, we can probably go in the configuration section. Okay, and kind of just see the settings, whatever is there and all. So now we have a public IP, we have a virtual network, we have a network security group which is being associated to that virtual network, and then we have different subnets. So the next thing which we have to do is to actually create a storage account also, because if you remember clearly, whenever we will provision any virtual machine, we need one storage account to keep our operating system VSDs and all of the things. Just want to put that storage account also, so that it shouldn't go and take something out of Blue Moon and take it by default. Okay. Okay, so it's taking a bit of time. Let it come. Okay, let's just name it. Okay, so say demo strg. Hopefully it's available, because okay, not available. Okay, so 09 something of that sort. Okay, so it's all standard premium. Okay, locally redundant. So it's all the things which you know about. So settings, and then just put it in a security groups, which will take a reason, and then we'll have a storage group. Boom. Okay, so now we have a storage account. So so most of the stuff which we need for a virtual machine or for a production grade infrastructure, we are trying to customize that. So all these things you will get when you create a virtual machine. So you need not to, I mean, if you're doing it, if you're trying to learn something from new and you don't know all these things, or you still struggle with that, whenever you go and create a virtual machine, you'll get all these things. But by default, Microsoft will take some name out of itself, and which you're not sure about what it will come. So the best way to handle that for a production, especially for the production kit where you're dealing with the customer, to do that or customize it from the scratch, so that you should know what you're doing and where you're keeping it. Because if not, otherwise it will have different resource group, and then you don't know where all these things are going. Okay, so let's go and create a virtual machine then. Okay, so alright, so let's see if we have a Windows machine somewhere available. Windows please. Okay, great. Alright, no problem. I think we have to search that. Okay, let it come, and then we'll select. Okay, Windows 2012 R2 data center. Great, let's just select this machine. Okay, so let it just be this one. Okay, now it will bring us to the configuration page, where we will have to provision the underlying things, where it will go the basic configuration and the okay, so demo VM. Let's provide the username here. Okay, so Azure Pass, let's put it in the same resource group. Demo loader. Alright then. Okay, so we have chosen the right things. Okay, great. Let's click OK. Let's choose the size of the virtual machine. Okay, anyway, we are not going to run it for long, so I can live with that, even if it adds some money. Okay, so we have selected the size of it. Now here we are setting the configuration or optional things. So now, so if you see, the by default it's trying to create this some demo workload 9864. That is the storage account, which we don't want. So because we already have created our storage account here. So what we will do, we'll choose. Okay, where it went? I think it just gone somewhere. Okay, let's select the virtual machine sizes and see the sizes which are available here. Okay, so things. Okay, so let's just scroll a bit further so that we should get a proper, pricing tier, because I need not to waste so much money. Okay, I just want to select something on D1 or even say A series VMs. Okay, okay, let's select this one then. Okay. So if you see, it has by default selected the storage even 09, which we had. So because we had created that, so it selected by itself. Otherwise it will just take some default name which would be of stupid sense. And because it knows, like in this one we have created a virtual network also, so it just took this virtual network and then it has taken the front end. So okay, let it be, because we are gonna treating it as this one. So let's just have it. Okay, so if you see, now it has taken the virtual network which or IP address which we have created, which is static in nature, and that is the demo IP. And even the network security group, which is it's trying to create new one which we don't need. Okay, let me just select. Okay, so let's just select front end IP, and that's what it is. And then in the network security groups, okay, so it's a front end SG, so that is front end security groups. Okay, so now front end demo, everything is in. Anything else which we are missing? I don't think so. So let's just go and click OK. Alright then, so okay, let's just create it then, and then we'll see where whatever that we have got the desired result which we wanted. Okay, so these are the steps actually. So the real purpose of doing this exercise is just to let you know, like, everything which we have created is with the best practices, so that in future if you have to do, you can follow along and do these with these sort of steps. So if you see, as we created this demo workload, I'll show you what are the resources which is being there right now. So if you see, it's still deploying, so virtual machine you'll not see. So we created this virtual machine, we created this demo VM, which is the name, and then the backend security group, front-end security group, front-end IP, or this storage account. So everything, whatever we have created, it's here. So, and then in the meantime, it's also still trying to create quite a few things. So that's what it is. So now if you have to do something on the back end, we will do the similar setup on the backend servers. So what we will do is, like, we will create a SQL server or a virtual machine to host the SQL server or MySQL database, and then we'll choose the back end, or the same setting which we did with the front end. We'll choose with the back end. We'll not choose any IP, because within the subnet they can talk to each other on those public or sorry, the private IPs, which will be something of the series which we have specified, like 10 dot, some series. So that's okay. Let me show you a virtual machine. If it's a demo VM, let's see if it's game. Okay, so it chooses that front end IP and everything. Let's just see the properties. So as I said, this is the IP. So 10.15 is the by default range, and then on top of that it shows 5.4. So if we create another machine which is going to be serving as a backend, so they can talk to each other on these private IP. But for somebody who is coming from outside, they have to access it from this IP, which is the front end IP. Okay, so that's where it stands right now. And this is the network interface, or the network interface card, which has been created. So if you see, as I said, network interface is something which can be associated or disassociated with that, and it has a lot of network related information attached to it. This is the place where we are seeing this. Okay, so we'll not go and do everything again, just to achieve the similar thing, because the purpose of this demonstration is the conceptual related stuff, like the practices which you have to follow, and the time which we have for this session will not permit us to get deep into that and see the machines coming up and then probably provision another machine on the for the back end, and they see the connectivity. So instead what we will do is we will get into the second part of the demonstration. So that is the best practices you have to follow, and the second part of the demonstration to actually work with the point-to-site connectivity and to understand the whole concept of how the point-to-site connectivity works. So site-to-site, as I have already explained you, and so in this section we'll try to concentrate on, or we'll see how a point-to-site network and we'll see how we can do that by deploying a virtual machine into the network and connecting it from the local machine. So when I say local machine, that means the machine which is here, or my laptop or your laptop, wherever you can do that. You can do that. So just to give you a heads up, like what we will do, okay, let's do it from this portal. I have quite a few things which is running on this portal, so I'm searching for something like networks. Okay, so let's just create a virtual network here first. Okay, so we are creating a virtual network from the classic portal, and I'm being a bit fast because I want to give myself ample time to explain everything in more detailed way. So just put it like demo point to site. Let's just keep it in Southeast Asia. Okay, let's provide it again. No need to provide there. Okay, let's enable it to configure a point to site. So the moment you do that, as you see, it creates a gateway. So just to give you a heads up, probably you should know quite a few points how this process will work. So the first thing which you have to do is to create a virtual network with point to site connectivity enabled. So that means you create a virtual network with this checkbox clicked, and then we will deploy a virtual machine into this virtual network. And the sort of a prerequisite for this virtual network to have a site-to-site connectivity from somewhere else, to have a network gateway, and that network gateway will be given by Azure itself. So we will create a gateway and associate that gateway to this virtual network. And then how this whole communication work is through certificates. So we will create a self-signed root certificates. You can even use the certificates which is from somewhere else and create the root certificate and upload it to this virtual network. And then we will create the self-signed client certificate for the same root certificate. So the root certificate, we will upload it to Azure, and the client certificate will keep it to our local machine, so that they should know like they are the one which are talking together, and they should know like this is the machine which is allowed. So wherever we will have this client, this sort of a the client the client signed certificates, that machine can make use of that network through site-to-site connectivity, point-to-site connectivity, and then we will export this client certificate from the certificate store, and then we will upload the root authentication certificate to Azure. So root certification will reside there. And then once we are done with that, we will download the package and we'll see how the whole connectivity and everything works. So these are the just a heads up which you can think of. Now we'll try to translate this whole points which we talk for, like, constantly for 40 seconds, which you might forget. We'll try to translate into technical things, how to do that. So as I said, now you have to click that checkbox for it to this virtual network to become a point-to-site connectivity, to make that point-to-site connectivity happen. Okay, let's just have a address space of 10.0/24. Okay, you can change it as I've done that, as I did in even the previous demonstration. With like, we can create it with 192 ranges or 172 ranges, but let it be there because we are doing it just for the demonstration. Okay, so let's just add a gateway subnet as well, because anyway we are going to create a gateway. Okay, so gateway subnet is a place where we will create this gateway, and then we will have an IP address associated, which will be getting into that gateway, because it needs a public endpoint to connect to it. Okay, let's just wait for it to come back. So as I said, we are provisioning, we are creating a virtual network which has point-to-site connectivity enabled. Okay, so let it just come. It's still taking some time. Okay, if you see the dashboard, so if you see, it just still creating, but it says the gateway was not created. So as I said, we have created the gateway subnet and other stuff. So to make it functional with point-to-site connectivity, we need to have a gateway on Azure end, and then we need to have a root certificate created from our machine and getting uploaded to there. So now the next job which we will do is to create a gateway. Let's do this. Okay, now it's creating a gateway. Okay, frankly speaking, it's gonna take a fair bit of time to come up with this gateway, because it has to do a lot of internal things to make it happen. Okay, so now if you see this section, here we can upload a root certificate. Now what is this root certificate is all about? So root certificate, as I said, it's a self-signed root certificate which you can create. You can get it from third party, or you can make use of Windows defaults mixer.exe to create one root certificate. So if you see, this is the IP or this is the address which you can make use of. And then let me just, okay, I'll probably send this over message as well. So it's actually my or mail itself. Well, putting that as a slide, or even on YouTube I'll update that. So it is just VPN gateway point-to-site creation. That's the link, and that is Microsoft documentation, Azure documentation. So nothing big. So anybody can go there. So here it explains you what are the things which is there, and how you can actually do that. So it says how to generate and upload the certificates and all other features. So the prime thing is that this one. So if you see this command, it asks you to provide the root certificate name, which you can provide, and then this is the name which goes there. So you take this command and run it from your command prompt, and the command prompt you can make use of, say, Visual Studio command prompt. So I have opened a Visual Studio command prompt. So Visual Studio command prompts comes up with this. So if you see, this is my Visual Studio command, not the normal command prompt. If you keep okay, let me just draw something so that you put a spotlight on that. If you see administration Visual Studio command prompt 2010, so that is the one where I'm running this, and then I'm putting the same command to do that. So okay, So this is the one which is being used. So let make cert.sq exchange cname root certificate name. If you run that, it will create a certificate with the name of root certification certificate.name.cer. Okay, so that is the root certificate. Now the second one is, if you get down, generate a client certificate. Same command, you can run it here, and that will give you a client certificate as well. Okay, so these are the things which you need. So in the meantime, let's just see if our machine is dashboard is ready with that. It's still creating, which is kind of a non-acceptable thing. And then let's create some certificate. Okay, let's just name it, say root demonet. Okay, so that is, I'm creating a root certificate here. Okay, so root demonet. Okay, now it's succeeded. So it has created a certificate with the name of root demonet. So now what we can do, as we have a root certificate, we can go in this section, we can click on upload, we can browse the for files. Okay, it goes to Windows folders, and what was the name? Root demonet, that is the CER file, and then we will just upload it here. Okay, let's see if it's uploaded. Alright, so it has uploaded with the thumbnail print. Alright, great. So now we can see here we have the certificates here. It's gonna take some time. Okay, so no problem. And then for the client certificate, this is the one. Okay, so root certificate name, that is the one which you have to provide, because it has to understand for which root certificate it's creating this client certificate. So as I said, root demo net is our root certificates, and then we can provide, say, client demo net as our client certificate name. So let's just name it as a client demo net, and then once we'll click it also create a client certificate here. So it's just that it takes a fair bit of time in coming up with that, and so it takes some time. So okay, so I'll not get into this, because creating is going to take so much of time. So next thing what we can do is we can launch a virtual machine. Okay, let's just do that. Let's just go to a virtual machine section. Alright, where is the virtual machine? Okay, so here it is. Okay, let's just create a virtual machine. Let's create it from the gallery, so that we should have a lot more options while selecting. Let's just select this as our machine. Let's just put like demo point to site. Okay, let's just select, say, something like A1 as my machine name. Say Kirsch is my user. Okay. Okay, now if you see this is okay, let's just create a new certificate which is demo PTS. Let's just select a reason, and no problem with that. Let's just take, okay, open two ports also. Okay, but we will choose demo PTS because that's what I think we created demo PTS now. Yeah. Okay, so demo PTS was the virtual network which we created, so I wanted this machine to be part of that virtual network and that particular subnet, and then we will create in there. Okay, so we are creating demo PTS. Okay, in the meantime, let's go to our virtual network and see what's happening in there. Demo PTS, see the dashboard, still creating, which is kind of a, it takes so much of time. So these are the actual steps which has to happen, for this to make this work. But because we don't have that much time to see this, coming through and happening in live. Sorry for that. Okay, so what I'll do, I have created another setup which is similar thing. So that is the test PTS. If you see, the test PTS is a virtual network where I have created a certificate with root certificate name, similar name, nothing, the same command which I said. I uploaded that, and then I created a gateway, and then I have created a test PYEC virtual machine, and I have provisioned that in this one. So similar thing which we are doing in demo PTS, I'm doing it here also. So here also we'll get the same thing. Once it gets connected, it has a virtual machine associated to this, and then once that root certificate comes in, it will just have the similar setup which is here. Okay, so if you see now, that is the certification. So if let's go back to the virtual machine, or the first virtual machine which I have already created. So that is test PYC. Okay, so if you see the endpoints, I have opened the remote desktop endpoints. Okay, so let's just try to connect to that machine. Okay, so few things which you have to take care of this. So that is the normal way of connecting to a virtual machine. We are not doing anything special in there, isn't it? Because we have open RDP port and we are trying to connect through cloud app or cloud service endpoint. Okay, so let it come. Okay, so I think my password, hopefully I remember. Okay, alright, so that means through RDP we are able to connect there. Let's get into machine. So as I said, till now there is nothing like point to site or anything involved in that, because I am getting getting into RDP and doing that. And I just want to let you know like what are the things which you have to do. So the first thing which you have to do is to open the server manager and then get into the local servers, and then if you see there is something called remote desktop enabled. So here if not this machine, because I have updated this, so here you'll have allow connections only from computers running remote desktop. I just uncheck that, so that even if it's not running RDP or it's not a public, it should be able to connect that. And then I just played with the firewall settings and make it off, so that you can go there. I mean, in production grade you'll not be actually turning off the firewall, but you'll go there and add the rules or the IP ranges from which you want that site-to-site point-to-site connectivity to happen. Okay, so let's just close this one. So that is through the public endpoints. Okay, so now what we will do is we'll go here. Okay, as I said, we have this endpoints. We'll delete this endpoint. Okay, let's just delete it. That means now we don't have any way people cannot get into this or RDP into this machine through that endpoint or through that endpoint which they have downloaded, because now it doesn't have that endpoint in place. Instead, what you will do, we will try to connect to this machine through point-to-site connectivity. So if you see, test PTS was the one which we have created, and then what we will do, so once you're done with that, you will click on the download package or VPN package. As I said, that is the application which will get downloaded. So because it's my machine is something which is 64-bit, so I downloaded 64-bit package, and then once you run that, because your machine has that client certificate as well, it will just let it connect here. So if you see here, test PTS is the one through which I have connected. So now the moment you're connected here, that's it. So your job is done. Now you can get into the command prompt, and as I said, Now I'll try to ping this machine or this test PTC on this public IP which it has got. Okay, so let's just ping there. Alright, so hopefully it should work, and it will work because I have tested it. So that means we can ping it. Okay, pinging is fine. So that means we can get into the machine. So I'm not doing it from any public way, it's just the private way of doing that. So that means the machine, my machine or my laptop has been having that client certificate through which it's making that connection. Okay, so now let's just do the RDP also. But this time also we'll not do the RDP. We'll do the RDP through private connectivity, so remote desktop connection. So if you see, this is the IP address which we have. Okay, because and I'm not connecting through any cloud app endpoints. That's private IP 10 dot. That could be the range of that's the range of a private that's a private range. That's not a publicly available. Nobody can access it like 10 dot this. Now we can provide the passwords, and then we can get into the machine. So okay, so anybody who has that certificate, they can RDP into the servers and they can do it. So as you see, now we were able to get into the machine through this 10 dot IP ranges, even though I have, because that machine or anything which is related to public, I have just closed all the ports so nobody can access it from outside. So that's it. So that means if you see here in this section, one client machine is associated with that. So this is a similar thing which we demonstrated, just because it takes some time to get it done and to create this gateway. It's started around sometimes, and then the moment it comes in, you'll see the download links also, where you can go and download the packages or application file. And when you click on that that application package file, you can actually do everything which I'm doing, like pinging or RDPing or any other operations on those machines which is part of that virtual network. So it's not specific to this virtual machine which I have provision in Azure, or for our purpose like 10.0.1.4. It could be like multiple virtual machines there, and all of the virtual machines will be accessible through these point to site connectivity. So that's it. So there's nothing beyond our expertise which is there in the point to site. Similar thing as we did in the site to site. This is the point to site which I showed you from ours, from my laptop. You can do it from your laptop if you have a subscription. Just go through that and try to achieve the similar thing which I did there. And then if you feel anywhere or stuck somewhere, you can just give me a call, or I'm always available on emails or even on YouTube channel, where I'll keep you where you'll be watching this. You can put a question there. I'll be happy to answer you. I'm happy to help you out with this networking concepts. So I guess, and now probably I'll open this for the questioning. So if anybody has anything to ask, you can put it right now. Okay, so great. So not a problem. So okay, so let's say, okay, so I think we are done with today's session. So now we have a fair bit of idea of how Azure works and everything, how to bring all of them together and collaborate them together and achieve a production grade server. That's what the expectation of the session. And the second one was to let you know how the point to site connectivity works. Just to give you guys another heads up, when you click on that link which I've showed you, configure a point to site and see it from the Microsoft documentation. There are, as I said, for the this portal, we did most of the stuff from the portal. But whereas with the old one, or sorry, with the resource group model or the new portal, there is a fair bit of PowerShell involved in there, because it hasn't matured to a level where it can, you can just go and do it from the portal. So you have to know a bit of PowerShell to achieve that. But as I said, it's gonna mature, and in next few days it will probably be of the same length, and then you can do it from the portal as well. So not a big deal. Just keep following the link, and keep keep yourself updated on how with the new portal, and then you'll be pretty easily do that, because the steps which we have done through portal, we'll not be doing anything different in there. So the step of creating a virtual network, enabling point to site connectivity, creating a root certificate, uploading that root certificate from our machine to Azure, and then creating a client certificate on that machine. And then once we have created the gateway on Azure side, we'll download the packages, and then the moment we'll install the packages, it is available for connectivity. So, and that's where it stands. So this is a kind of a briefing which or the steps which is involved in doing all these things. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this session. Let me know, if you have anything to ask. I'm gonna stop the recording or something, but I'll take the questions afterwards. Thank you. Thanks.